What's good, YouTube? Back with another breakdown. The return of Terence Crawford this weekend. All right, he's going to be looking to win a title in his fourth division. First fight at 154 is going to be against Israil Madrimov, okay, who's defending his WBA title, his newly crowned WBA title, when he defeated Magomed Kurbanov in his very last fight, all right, to win the title. Lots to discuss, a lot of unknowns because Madrimov is not a big name. So we'll be talking more about him in this fight here, because we all know who Bud Crawford is. Everybody know who he is by now. All right. What do I think about the fight? Well, Bud is on a mission to become undisputed in his third division. You know, he's already a 3-division champ, and he's already a 2-time undisputed champ. All right, or 2-division undisputed champ. Okay, so he's looking to make it for a third time. In the meantime, he is looking to get a big fight as well, possibly with Canelo Alvarez, probably sometime next year. Okay, so that's the goal for him. He is 36 years old, and he's going to be 37 in September. Okay, so he's getting pushed. He's getting up there in age. And he's moving into what I believe is his most dangerous division, not just because of the size, but 154 has always been the most dangerous division and the most competitive division because a lot of talent has always been there. You know, a lot of guys that's gone to move up to 168 has started at 154. You know, it's like 154 is the division where a lot of middleweights that can make the weight fight at. Okay. And there's always been a difference in size between the guys on 147 and 154. You know, 147 has always been the more popular division. 147, I mean, but 154 was just, you know, it's a lot of talent there, you know, from the Charlos to the Canelos to Andrades and on and on and on. It's always been dangerous. And a lot of guys have taken their first L at this division. You know, and even right now, whoever wins this fight, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the best at 154. You know, if Crawford is to win or Madrimov is to win, as far as resume, you know, one of those two might be the most successful at the time. But there's so many fighters there, and there's so many upsets that happen at the division on a regular basis. So Crawford has to be careful, you know, not just because the move up, but because who's there. It's very, very difficult to beat the very best in everybody at the division without taking a loss at some point. Ask Jermell Charlo. All right. But Crawford is viewed by most to be the best fighter in the world, you know, the best talent in the world. And with his skills, you know, I think he's going to continue to be successful, but we just have to wait and see because this is not an easy fight. And the thing is, Madrimov is not a very well-known fighter. Okay, so a lot of people are not interested in a fight like that because, especially Americans, a lot of people are more familiar with Boots Ennis more so than Madrimov. So a lot of people wanted that fight more. Trust me, if he stayed at 147, that would have been the only fight for me at 147. You know, I mean, there's nothing else really left for Bud to do there but fight Boots Ennis. But if he's looking to accomplish more in his career, meaning win titles and more divisions, he had to go up. You know, Madrimov, fighter from Uzbekistan in his physical prime, 29 years old. Not a lot of professional fights. All right, I believe he has 11 pro fights. But he was a very, very good amateur, you know, and that tells you a lot. When you see a guy that's a champion in such a short period of time, it's usually because they went straight into their pro, finding very, very good fighters right away. You know, and that's what Madrimov have done, beating Kurbanov in his very last fight. Kurbanov, Russian fighter, 28 years old, has wins over Liam Smith, Michelle Sorrell, Patrick Cicero, former champion. Madrimov went in there and destroyed Kurbanov, all right, in his very last fight. Made it look very easy, you know, and this is why he's facing Terence Crawford, and this is why he's a champion already, you know. And you can even make an argument that, I mean, I don't think it's proving who's the best, but you know, I've read a lot of comments, and a lot of people believe that right now Madrimov might be the best champion at 154. I don't think so. I think it needs to be proven who's the best, you know, between him, Fedor, Tim Tszyu, Virgil Ortiz, Jamel Charlo, if he's still going to be fighting. I really don't know who's the best at 154 right now. And I won't know even after this fight. All right, but Madrimov, a lot of people are downplaying him because, you know, he's from Uzbekistan. You know, no one really knows him. And that's usually the case. But what I will say is that I actually think this is one of Bud's most dangerous fights. Yeah, even though Bud is coming off wins against guys like Spence and Sean Porter, who are a lot more known and accomplished, stylistically, this might be the more dangerous fight for Bud Crawford, simply because he's moving up, he's even older, okay, and he's fighting a guy that's in his physical prime. A lot of people said that Porter wasn't in his prime, or Kell Brook wasn't in his prime, or, you know, Jose Benavidez got shot in the leg, Spence got in a car accident. There was always an excuse on why Bud won his fights to a lot of his haters, you know. A lot of people that don't like Bud would say all of these things. But now he's fighting a fighter that is in his prime, that's in his 20s, that is naturally bigger, a career junior middleweight, all right? Very explosive, all right? Got power, very athletic, and it's a good boxer. He got skills, you know, he has great angles. There's a lot of things going for him, you know, and I think stylistically he brings a lot more than even Spence did, you know, because Spence is extremely textbook, you know what he's going to do all of the time. Spence is more of a workhorse. He's not flashy, you know. He knows this. His coach knew this. They even said it themselves. It's very textbook. Madrimov is a fighter that is a little bit more unorthodox, a little bit more explosive, a little bit more athletic. And he's only 29 years old. He's a champion. He's undefeated. He hasn't been in any wars. He hasn't been knocked out. He hasn't been in any kind of anything. He's fresh. So this is a dangerous fight. And it kind of reminds me of how I felt when Bud was going into the Eggy Kavalauskas fight. Same thing. Eastern European fighter. Nobody really knew who he was like that. You know, good amateur, but can punch. It was a very intelligent fighter, as you could see in that fight. Crawford struggled in about the first 3 or 4 rounds in that fight. All right? So that's how I look at the fight. Might not be the biggest name. Might not be an Amir Khan or a Kell Brook or a Porter or a Spence. But I think this is a more dangerous fight. And I think this is going to be a more difficult fight for Crawford to win. All right? So going more into Madrimov and his style, I was able to go and rewatch the Kurbanov fight. And I watched the fight prior to that, which was against Rafael Ibakwe. All right? Ibakwe was a big southpaw I believe the commentator said that he was a 160 guy, so because there was definitely a size difference between him and Madrimov in their fight. But the reason why I watched this fight is because he's a southpaw, so I wanted to see, Bud is, naturally a southpaw fighter that can switch, and I wanted to see how he did here. And Madrimov did good here, didn't stop him, but did well, clearly won the fight. But I was just kind of looking for holes. And I think the biggest flaw with Madrimov here, there's really just two for me. I think the one major things is that he drops his hands a lot. When he's stepping in, he's dropping his hand. When he's using those angles and stepping around you, he's normally dropping his hands. His hands are low a lot, and I see that could be a problem from Crawford. His jab alone is going to be a massive issue for Madrimov in his fight. Crawford proved to have one of the best jabs in boxing in his very last fight against Spence. Spence always had a phenomenal jab, and one of the best jabs in boxing, in my opinion, but Crawford was much better. And part of the reason is that Crawford has very, very long arms. I think he has like a 5-6 inch advantage in length against Madrimov in this fight. I don't know if people noticed that, but Crawford was using like a shotgun-like jab against Spence, similar to the way Triple G used his, where, he would shoot it, but keep the other free hand up. So as he's shooting it, he has the hand up to cover whatever's getting thrown back at him, whatever jab was getting back at him. So Crawford was using that jab to back Spence up because it was a very, very sharp, quick, powerful jab. It's like a shotgun. And Madrimov has never been in there with an opponent with that kind of jab. Also, Crawford and the way he uses his ring and his range is also going to be a problem, because guys like Kurbanov, who was a really good, technically sound fighter, very low volume, not really that fast, not really explosive, good chess player, but didn't have the explosiveness or the athleticism or the power to really force Madrimov to respect him. Crawford has the power, he has the speed, he has the timing, and he has the movement in the legs to be able to keep and the length to keep Madrimov at bay. All right, so I think that's a major, major problem. On top of him keeping his hands low, it's that reach and that jab. Just that part alone is going to be a problem. The other problem is Madrimov and the lack of experience here. Not saying he can't do it, because a lot of fighters rise to the occasion when they get into these kind of fights. Obviously, he's going into the fight with massive amount of respect because he's fighting who many of us believe is the best fighter in the world. I haven't seen him having to deal with any adversity. Like I said earlier, yeah, he doesn't have the battle scars that a Porter and a Spence and a Kell Brook had. But at the same time, he doesn't have the experience. He hasn't fought anyone that he had to be very cautious about what's getting thrown back at him. So this will be the first time us seeing what he can do at this level, because it's kind of been smooth sailing. He was so dominant in so many of his fights that we weren't really able to see how he can do under pressure, and if you put Boxingwave and Kurbanov and everything, all their strengths together, it still wouldn't match what Crawford is capable of, and I know I mentioned size a lot, but Crawford again seems to be fitting well into these every time he moves up. it just really looks like he was always just the big 135, especially, 135, maybe even 140 pounder, you know, because when he went to 147, I know a lot of people were saying he was small. And I think he was clearly smaller than like Jeff Horn, who eventually moved up to middleweight. But I think people were underestimating his size and his strength, and know how to control guys and know how to move them. He pushed off against guys like Jeff Horn and would pick them up and move them at times when they were locked up. Strength of Crawford is very, very, very high, and he's also extremely durable. This is a guy that's been shot in the head. That's why he's crazy. So Madrimov, again, lack of experience, and dropping his hands, not sure how he's going to be able to deal with Crawford's jab is are the key issues, and this is part of the reason why I have Crawford winning the fight. Now, as far as weaknesses for Crawford, I mean everybody has them. He definitely gets hit. He gets caught with a good shot or two. He's gonna get caught with a good shot. He did against guys like Avanesian. Porter did well against him. Kavalaskas, I brought up, nearly dropped him at one point. Gamboa's hurt him, there's fights we can go to where he's going to get hit with a good shot. And I think, in the earliest rounds for Crawford, that's where he seems to be a bit more vulnerable. So I think this is going to be a very competitive fight for a first 6 rounds or so. But I think at some point, Crawford is going to begin to take over and start coming forward and walking him down and pressuring the inexperienced Madrimov. All right. I think Crawford, I don't know how long he's going to be able to fight at this level, being his age, being almost 37 years old. Father times is undefeated, and how long is he going to be able to continue fighting at this level against these young, fresh fighters like this and continue moving up? One thing that is good about Crawford is he's a gym rat. He's always in shape. He doesn't blow up in weight over in between fights. So even though he's only been fighting once a year, he stays in the gym. He stays sharp. This is one of those guys that you probably got to kick him out the gym and turn the lights off, because he's really in the gym that much. If you follow him on social media, so he's always in there. All right, but I don't know. It's just too many. It's just too many divisions. You're going up for the 4th time. It's just too much. If it's too much, this could be the fight. Could be the fight to show it. We don't know, but I have Crawford winning. I think Crawford. I'm looking at a 10th round stoppage of Crawford. I think he's going to take advantage of some of the defensive flaws of I keep forgetting his name. I already forgot his name now. Madrimov. I keep thinking Kurbanov in my head. Kurbanov. I've been naming a lot of Eastern European fighters in this video. But Madrimov, I think I'm looking at a 10-round stoppage. Okay, I think Crawford is just, don't know if his power going to carry up, but I believe it will. I think the power will keep going, and I think a lot of it is just not about as hard. It's not just about him punching hard. I think it's about the timing and getting these fighters to get hitting them with punches they don't see coming. And I think Crawford does it in 10 rounds. If it goes to decision, I wouldn't be surprised. I believe Madrimov is like a plus 500 here. So, you know, if you're a betting guy and you're looking for an upset somewhere, I don't think it'll be a bad fight to bet on. I'm personally not going to be betting against Bud, but I don't think plus 500 is bad. But I think Crawford 10th round, you know, if you're a round picking guy, I would say 10 to 12 for Crawford. I would go with that, or, you know, I think that's probably the best odds to go with for Crawford for this weekend. All right. All right. So anyway, that's my breakdown. I have more breakdowns to do because it's an amazing fight card. There's a lot of fights on the card. I already did. What's this guy? Andy Ruiz and Gerald Miller. So check that video out. That video is up, and look for more videos for this fight in the next upcoming couple days. All right. I'll see you guys on the next one. Please subscribe. Peace.